At 2 o'clock, we join the Night Network, and tonight's show includes a pop quiz. But first, controversy abounds, as, amongst other things, James Whale discusses the monarchy with Tony Benn.
Okay, right, welcome to the programme. Ladies and gentlemen, the James Whale Show, back on air. Donna is back, isn't that lovely? And we're dressed tonight. I have to tell you why we're dressed tonight. We're dressed tonight because tonight we're doing our royal bit. Who knows? Perhaps there's some kind of accolade, some kind of award in it, a knighthood possibly, and if they're looking in, lovely. Now, if you have any feelings, any strong feelings on the royal family, one way or the other, if you're for the monarchy, you think it's a good idea, here's the number to ring, all right? Ring that number now. You can make your feelings felt on our vote line. If you're against the monarchy, if you think it's a waste of time, and you don't really think there's any place for it in today's society, then this is the number to ring. All right? Are you watching me? This is the number to ring. And make sure that you cast your votes during the programme. Ring either of those numbers, and we'll see how it's going on a little later on. Right. Now, we have a competition, and the competition is that something about my person between now and the end of the programme is going to change. All right, so keep looking very carefully. Something about my person is going to change. But we thought we'd start the show off differently tonight. We thought we'd start it off with a little humour. A gentleman who has the same sort of sartorial elegance as myself. Ladies and gentlemen, Freddie Phillips.
Very nice. Quick impression, Brian Clough. Hey. People say, quick impression, Rudolph Hess. Fine, bastard. People say to me, I'm stupid. Fair enough. I'm a bit stupid, fair enough. My granddad was incontinent. I went all over Europe looking for him. I'm all right now. Why do all the black people get shot in the war? Somebody shouts, get down, and they all stand up and start dancing. We're all right. Yeah, we're all right. Shouldn't be here tonight. The lights, very nice. Looks like delivery from the planet Zanussi. All right, I like the teeth and breaking them in for a donkey. But there you go. Here's a joke for all telepaths. Right, fine. I said, yeah, quick impression, lay down. An Irish burglar. Irish obscene telephone call. Hello. What's... All right. I said to my wife, hang on. I said to my wife, I said, I'm going to Yorkshire Television tonight, Kirkstall. She said, where the fuck's that? I think that's what she said anyway, but never mind. This fella's in bed with this girl, her husband comes home from work, and the fella's on the bed like that. Husband said, hey! He said, what the bloody hell's going on here, like? The fella said, I'm from the council. He said, what do you mean you're from the council? He said, I'm the official moth catcher. He said, he got no clothes on. He said, bastards. I get jacket out, all right tonight. Quick impression, Jan Malby. What the bloody... Hey, what's him? We're all right. I shouldn't be here. I want to enjoy myself. I was in the hospital, you know. I used to play for the football team, psychiatric ward. Went to Liverpool, beat the Asylum 6-0, all scored by headers. All right. Says the warder, says, is that clock right? He says, yeah. I said, what's it doing here? Hey, what was that movie? That's Crocodile Dundee. Oh, I love that movie. I love that Linda Kalowski. I was like that in the fourth row. This woman said, you disgust me. She said, where you from? I said, the balcony. I'm all right now. I shouldn't even be here. I've got a couple of announcements here, ladies and gentlemen. Will the owner of a Robin Reliance please go to the car park? There's a rat trying to drag it down the sewer. Little Red Riding Hood's going through the woods. She's a noise behind the bush. Who's there? Tom O'Connor. Think about it. Doesn't matter. But, thanks very much. Get that bloody car started. But what I'm going to do now, it's a royalty routine. So what we're going to do, ladies and gentlemen, bring it on stage here tonight, all the way from Buckingham Palace. Ladies and gentlemen, Her Royal Highness. Here she is, ladies and gentlemen, Her Royal Highness, Princess Anne. Does he look like her? Quick impression, Princess Anne. I'm not going at christening, bugger him. Here's me horse, here he is, Muffin. Used to have wheels, but I cut them off so we can't have babies. Best part of the act is Princess Anne and Mark are out for their early morning ride. Sounds like Lester Piggott run away from the taxman. Poor old Lester. The Inland Revenue, so Mr. Piggott, Mr. L. Piggott of Newmarket. According to the records here at the Inland Revenue, you're going to owe tax in the region of £1.75 million. He said, Mr. Pickett's going to be £2.5 million. £2.5 million? What about Ken Dodd, eh? Getting taken away in the Black Mariah? Tatty boy, tatty boy! What about that fella broke into the Queen's bedroom? What was his name? Fagin, nutter. He got over the 30-foot railings outside Buckingham Palace, jumped down the other side, past the bobbies on the gate, over the barbed wire fences, past the Doberman Pinsons and the Alsatians in the gardens, over some more barbed wire, past the SAS force with the guns and on the roofs with binoculars, over some more barbed wire, past the Queen's cousin, over some more barbed wire, past the bloody alarm, up the stairs, into Buckingham Palace, into the Queen's bedroom, and he never left any chocolates. I've got another one. I've got loads. I've got another one. I've got loads. I've got loads.
This is a sensible show. This is a sensible show. Now, earlier this week, I went down to, where is it? Where's it? Cheshire, isn't it? Yes, I went down to Cheshire to meet a gentleman who is, by all accounts, a royalophobic. Look at this.
Whaley goes to town.
Never mind, leave that there. I'll take the lights. Now, welcome to, welcome to Macclesfield. I've come to meet Colin Edwards, who's a staunch supporter of the royal family who lives here. We'll need lights inside. It'll be a little dark, I think. What sort of person lives in a house like this? The evidence is everywhere. A royal paperweight. Photographs of the royal family. Well, the answer's simple. Colin Edwards. Colin is one of those unusual band of people, of which there are quite a number in this country. He's a royal family fanatic. Is that right?
Not fanatic.
Fanatic's not a good word. What would you use?
I'm just a great ardent royalist, really. I suppose some people would define it as being a fanatic, but I don't like to think of myself as a fanatic because I've got other interests as well.
Well, we won't, for this interview, go into the other interests, Colin, because I'm very interested to see this, because at the moment, it's not fashionable to be a great supporter of the royal family, is it? There are lots of royal knockers.
That's right.
I like that. I mean, I think you have a soft spot for her.
Yes.
You think if
I've kissed her hand several times now.
Have you?
Yes.
What was it like?
It's always a great privilege, and I'm always delighted to see her.
A firmer or limp hand?
Oh, no. She sort of outstretches her hand as if she's quite used to the routine now, and I think it's generally known that she does like having her hand kissed by gentlemen.
Does she?
Yes.
I mean, she's a very... I mean, I don't
beautiful.
know whether this is treason or not, but she's a very sexy-looking lady, isn't she?
Yes. Well, I wouldn't describe her as really sexy, just very beautiful.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's sexy, I suppose, in a very beautiful way. The Queen and Diana now instantly recognise me when they're on a walkabout and in public. The Queen has even recognised me at Troop in the Colour when she was going along in her little carriage and I was behind a barrier because she met a royalist friend of mine in Edinburgh last summer, a few weeks later. And he mentioned me to her because we've seen her together in the past, a couple of years ago. And she said, oh, yes, she said, I saw him just a few weeks ago at Troop in the Colour. So
really?
It was quite amazing that she could actually see me, you know, from the carriage, and I was just there taking photographs.
If we went back into Elizabethan times, Colin, I see you as a kind of court follower. Could you see yourself there sitting at the foot of the throne of one of the great queens?
Yes, I suppose so.
Well, of course, the royals have come in for a lot of stick recently, Colin, haven't they? They didn't turn up to the Lockerbie Memorial, and Prince Philip's going to go to the funeral of Hirohito in Japan. What do you think about this?
It's very difficult because whatever they do, they're criticised. I mean, their private life is intruded upon, and even in public, there's always people who give them stick and criticise them. I mean, I suppose that's happened with every royal family, really, but nowadays, especially, people are out to knock them. And I think sometimes the younger royals aren't all that tactful and discreet.
So you will carry on flying the flag?
Oh, definitely.
461000. He's waiting for your call now.
No, I don't know. I've never met Freddie Phillips before in my life. Like the suit? It's nice, isn't it? Ring us. 461000 leads the code 05324. There it is, 0532 461000. And if you have any questions or any comments on the royal family, I'll be talking to Tony Benn in a few moments, and perhaps you could put some questions to him as well. Now, Donna, catch, whoops. I have been trying to get this next video. That was good, wasn't it? Worth a round of applause, don't you think? Thank you. Good. I have, they'll be shouting at me any moment now saying, you're overrunning, you've only got an hour. Never mind. Oh, I am I? Oh, well, OK. I've been trying to get this video on the programme ever since it came out. It's amazing. It's Roy Orbison.
I don't have to do it. I could stop now. If I wanted to. But twice or maybe 3 times a week, I'm on the phone. But I could switch off. If I wanted to. At night time, when there's nothing else to do, I'd do it. Yeah, I'd do it. Whaley really screws you up.
Right, welcome back. The show is on and running, and with me in the studio now, my guest, Tony Benn. Now, Tony, we've met before, we've spoken before, but tonight we're going to talk not, as you pointed out to me quite rightly earlier, about the royal family, but about the monarchy in this piece of the interview. And that's something entirely different, isn't it?
Yes, I think people are confused. You see, take an obvious example, the Queen's speech at the beginning of a session of Parliament, written by the Prime Minister. The honours list published on the Queen's birthday, decided by the Prime Minister. The Prime Minister exercises in Britain, all Prime Ministers, not just this one, the powers associated with the Crown. For example, after the war, Attlee, who was a Labour Prime Minister, invited the American troops into Britain. There are now 30,000 of them in 130 bases, done by Crown prerogative. When Ted Heath took us into the common market, he signed the treaty which joined us without even publishing it, using the royal prerogative. And I think people confuse the royal family, which is entirely one matter, with the powers that are there, which are used really to bypass the democratic process.
So when people quote you as saying you're perhaps against the royal family or the monarchy, it's nothing to do with the family themselves, but it's the way that they're in our constitution. You'd actually like to see...
Well, it's the constitution itself. I mean, as a matter of fact, I've never seen anybody say that about me, but perhaps you found a cutting somewhere. But what I think we should do is to try to take all the powers exercised by the government and make them responsible to Parliament. And I've introduced a couple of bills which you're holding in your hand. One on the Crown prerogatives, making them responsible to Parliament, and the other so that the oath that would be taken would be more like the oath of an American president.
What do you think the Queen would think of these? I mean, you've met the Queen several times. What do you think she would think?
Well, what you have to do if you introduce a bill like that, which touches on what's called the royal prerogative, you have to send it to the Home Secretary, who sends it to Buckingham Palace. And I've had a letter back saying that there's no objection to the bills being debated, but of course the present government object to them. But it would be a good idea, I think, if we knew a little bit more about how we're governed, because all the material which is in the papers about the royal family obscures the fact that Britain is still a feudal society.
So basically, though, Tony, the point is that it's not the royal family can use this power, but the government, whichever persuasion it happens to be in, can actually use the name of the monarchy to pass things that they don't have to
use
ask
the
for.
legal powers of the Crown. Now, there are 2 powers that the Crown has personally. The right to dissolve Parliament, which would be to wipe out an election. That has not been done in Britain. The second is the right to ask somebody to form a government, which would only apply in a hung Parliament. These are reserved powers of some importance, but the real powers to appoint judges, to appoint the Archbishop of Canterbury, to go to war, to make peers, to make ministers, to appoint the chairman of the BBC, the chairman of the IBA, to sign treaties and so on, these are powers beyond the control of the Parliament we elect. And it is a strange thing, because it can't be true of many countries, that people in Britain actually do not know how they're governed, and that's the point I'm interested in.
So, Tony, you're quite happy for us to have a royal family as long as their powers are different?
Well, my issue is purely the constitutional one.
Right, we're going to take a little break and have some letters now. So some of these letters refer to what we're talking about. Some of them refer to what we were doing on last week's programme. OK, now, the vote line so far, you won't believe this, I am very surprised, as I thought, you know, this was going to lead to my knighthood tonight, but we've so far had 500 calls in since we started the programme, and keep ringing, the numbers are there for you. If you're pro-monarchy, it's 0772 22244. If you are anti the monarchy, then it's 0772 22266. Antis, 300, over 300 votes now, against the royal family, for the royal family, only 200. I wonder if a lot of the press that they've had recently has led to this. A lot of the letters that have come in, we've had hundreds of letters this week, and R. Booth from Rochdale writes a rather cheeky little letter. I rather like this. It says, your views, please, on the government's proposed legislation regarding the unemployed, i.e. they must prove to be seeking employment, otherwise their benefits will cease. Will this also apply to the royal family? We have got a Greek who hasn't done a stroke for 30-odd years, one who, when not redesigning London, is talking to trees, another who is on permanent compassionate leave from the Navy, a retired Marine who prefers tights and makeup, and a farmer's daughter who's addicted to snow and yodeling. The list goes on. I think that's quite amusing, Mr. Booth, but very unfair. M. Brown from Castleford says, I'm a great believer in the English Crown and Constitution. The amount of revenue brought into this country of ours by the pomp and splendour of the trooping of the colour, changing of the guards, etc., royal weddings and opening of Parliament must far outweigh all the expenditure. I believe that the monarchy should always be the figurehead of Britain. And one last letter. Matthew of Southport says, I think they're a load of spoilt, snobby garbage, and quite frankly, who needs them? That's not very nice, Matthew. That's not very nice at all. Let's take a few calls on this. We've got a call coming from Robert. Hello, Robert.
Hello there.
Yes, Robert, your point, please.
Yeah, I'm nothing against the royal family. But the question is, are they really a necessity anymore? Do they seem to be causing more upset on whether they should go to Japan or that they should have gone to Scotland? Or it seems to be causing some upset at the moment rather than joy, which is what they should be doing, I would have said anyway.
Well, I don't know whether Tony agrees or not, but I would have thought if we didn't have the royal family, we'd have a president who'd be in the same position and be criticised in exactly the same way.
Well, I think, first of all, the cost of a president against the cost of a royal family, probably not much in it, and I wouldn't go on that argument at all. But I think it's also important to add to what I said, that the decision to go to Tokyo would have been taken by the Prime Minister.
Nothing to do with the royal family?
Well, I think if the Prime Minister had said don't, it wouldn't have happened. And I must say, when I heard that Toyota were going to open a big plant in Britain with 3,000 jobs, it did make me wonder whether that had been a factor in the decision. So, you see, you have to recognise, even on royal visits, the decision is a political decision.
So
and this is something people don't realise.
Yeah,
I mean, they could make the criticism, some of which you read out, but most of these decisions are taken by number 10 Downing Street.
OK, Robert, thank you. Dominic, who's calling from Grimsby. Hello, Dominic.
Hello?
Yeah, your question.
I basically agree with Tony Benn that the royal family are OK as far as a figurehead sort of goes. But I feel their powers are more real than any of us realise. For example, the powers they have to appoint judges, the honours system, which is often used as a bribe, I feel, within party political circles.
Do you think we'd be any better without the royal family, though? Or do you think it would be open then to more abuse, perhaps?
I think they should stick to launching ships, that kind of thing.
OK. Thank you very much indeed, Dominic. Derek, who's calling us from Edinburgh, which, of course, is a very royal city, isn't it, Derek?
Well, not that much, but may I say something? I believe that the royal family is essentially an unused asset. You see, if you privatised them and released them from state restrictions, then you could have such novel ideas as rent a royal, for example, where you could have them hire one for a day to open your supermarket or attend your garden party. And how about guest appearances? For example, at discos,
they
DJs
do guest appearances. That's all. They spend a lot of time doing a lot of guest appearances. But perhaps, hang on a minute, Derek. I mean, Tony, if what you said was carried out, and if the monarchy's
well, I mean,
changed.
these are questions about the royal family, you see, and I think it's a pity that people don't phone in and say, well, now, surely it would be better to have a more democratic system. Now, if you take Canada or Australia, where the Queen is a figurehead, these are different from us in the sense that the royal powers, the crown powers, would be exercised there by a Governor-General who'd been appointed on the recommendation of the Prime Minister. So I'm more concerned with the powers. As to the rest, it's a separate matter.
Right, Derek from Edinburgh, thank you. Let's go over to Glasgow. Ewan is calling us from Glasgow. Ewan, hello.
Hello, James.
Yes, Ewan.
I'm wondering what member of the royal family do you resemble or you most like?
Which member of the royal family am I most like?
Yeah, or...
Go to bed. You're far too young to be watching this show. Stephen from the Isle of Man. Hello, Stephen.
Hello, James.
Yes,
How are
Stephen.
you?
How are you?
Well. Good. I want to ask Tony, if he had to be a member of the royal family, which member would he be?
If he wanted to be a member of the royal family...
Well,
I
if he
think
had to.
I came to make a point about the powers, and so I'm hoping you'll excuse me from dealing with this, because the more we discuss it in those terms, the less people will realise that the reason there are 30,000 troops here was because American troops, because the Prime Minister used the powers of the Crown to bring them here.
So do you think people are
and
not
when
interested,
President Nasser, Eden ordered the assassination of President Nasser in 1956, if it had succeeded, which it didn't do, the man who killed Nasser would have been told that he was doing it under the Crown powers.
Yeah.
When Peter Wright, who wrote Spycatcher, tried to destroy the Wilson government, he was persuaded he was doing it under Crown powers, whereas actually it hasn't anything to do with the royal family.
The interesting point, Tony, is that a lot of people may not be that interested, or perhaps not even grasp
Well, a
what the
nation that isn't
situation is.
interested in how it's governed is a nation that isn't democratic in spirit. So I think it may be that it's worth coming on this programme, which I know is primarily a programme about the royal family, just to try and drop this idea in people's minds that many of the things that happen to us happen because of Crown powers that we think of as part of the royal family actually are exercised by the Prime Minister of the day.
OK, Tony, we'll take another call in a few moments, but because, of course, this is live and things happen the whole time, you may go, camera one, unscrew your little bits and pieces and take that camera out of the studio to the... I shall be doing the director out of a job now. Len from Exeter, hello.
Hello, James.
Yes, Len, your point about the monarchy, please.
Yeah. I would like to ask you how you feel on how the royal family or anyone to do with the government can get away with breaking speed limits, etc.
Well, OK, again, this is not the sort of question, I think, while Tony is here, that we wanted to get, and we want to try and... get some slightly more intelligent questions, but hopefully those sort of things shouldn't happen. There should be the same law for everybody, and it would be a little... really would be devaluing the subject, wouldn't it, really?
Well, it's not what I'm here to talk about.
Right,
I mean, they're interesting
Len,
questions.
thank you for your point. Perhaps we can take some of those a little bit later on, but we're trying to find people who are concerned perhaps about the role of the monarchy in society and how it could change, as Tony Benn has just outlined. Give us a ring if you'd like to talk about that. 0532 46 1000. OK, welcome back. Now, the vote line for the monarchy, keeping the monarchy at the moment. Of course, this is just a straw poll, as they say, isn't it? I don't suppose you can base anything on this, but so far for the monarchy, 680 people have phoned in. Those are the numbers to ring if you'd like to call us. And against the monarchy, 730. I'm very surprised at that. I thought that people would be phoning in for the monarchy in droves, but there we are, for 680 against 730, so over 1,000 people have already phoned in. We've got some more calls coming up, but first of all, some people who phoned in don't want to go on the programme, would like me to put a question to Tony. Diana from Walsall in Staffordshire says, isn't the Crown a safeguard, and could the Queen refuse the royal assent to an Act of Parliament if she wished?
Well, if you say a safeguard, what you're really saying is you don't trust the people to decide things. And I think that would be a very dangerous view, personally. Because if you don't trust yourself, then you are really saying democracy is only an optional extra, and really you're relying on somebody else. Now, the second thing, in theory, of course, the powers are enormous. The Crown could dissolve Parliament tomorrow, could declare a state of emergency, could govern the country by Privy Council and orders in Council, and so on. And I think what has happened in the last 10 years, and this is perhaps rather special to this Prime Minister, the powers of the Crown have really been abused to the point where people now begin to wonder whether they should continue on the present basis. And I think that, I don't know what that indicates to your poll, because I don't think the poll is really about anything other than the royal family, but are the powers of the Crown being abused? I personally think they are, by the security services and so on and so on.
But if the Queen was to say, or the monarchy was to turn round tomorrow and say, OK, I've had enough of this, I don't like the way things are going in the country, I'm going to dissolve Parliament, they wouldn't take any notice, would they? They just wouldn't take it. What would
Well,
a
it would
government
depend
do?
entirely, wouldn't it, be who's supported? I mean, what you're talking about really is a coup, aren't you? I mean,
But
in some
the
countries,
monarchy has the power to do that.
Well, you see, this is where I think it's worth comparing it with the American Constitution, because when President Nixon was caught out, they simply removed him. Now, if he had tried to take over the government of the United States, the Supreme Court would have told the army not to obey. In this country, if there was that sort of a coup, then, of course, everyone would be bound by an oath of allegiance. So you come to the second question. Wouldn't it be a good idea if people swore an oath of allegiance to uphold democracy? And I've done a bill on that, which has also been to the palace through the Home Secretary. And I think these are interesting questions that ought to be thought about, perhaps not on this programme so much, but ought to be discussed a bit more.
Let me take another call. We've got hundreds of people phoning in. Let me try another call here. Andrew, hello.
Hello.
Andrew, your point.
Right, James, I would like to ask Tony, do you think the royal should live off the fat of the land?
Do I think what?
The royal should live off the fat of the land.
I think that's missing the point as well, whether the royal family should live off the fat of the land.
I think you're on a different point there. I mean, you're talking then about the royal family as landowners. I mean, there are a lot of people who own great estates and so on. I'm on a different point, so if I don't answer that, it's in the hope that I'll get a question about how we're governed.
In other words, listen carefully and don't start phoning in about the wrong question. Jeff.
Hello, Jim.
Yes, Jeff.
There are two main points I'd like to make. I'm surprised to hear Mr. Ben talking about the monarchy being, affecting democracy. I think the people who abuse democracy most are MPs themselves, when they start filibustering and shouting people down in the House of Commons.
That's a good point.
I mean, democracy...
Let's get an answer to that. That's an interesting point.
Let me answer that. I mean, I'm not justifying what Parliament does. How could I? Because for 10 years, I think everything Parliament's done has been wrong. The difference between Parliament and the Crown is that you can get rid of your Member of Parliament, whereas you can't get rid of the Crown and the powers associated with it. I'm going to give you an example, perhaps you haven't thought of it. There's a ballot for trade unions, a referendum on the common market, an election for your council, a Euro election, but the Crown, of course, being hereditary, there is no opportunity to take a view, and yet around the Crown lie powers that are used by the Prime Minister. That's the point I'm at. I don't know if I'm getting through to people, but it's not really about whether people in politics behave well, because the purpose of democracy is to give you the right to get to vote out people you don't like, and that is an important thing.
Do you think we might ever get to the stage where we voted in the King or the Queen, or not?
Well, in America, they have a thing called a presidential election, and what I find so interesting is that last year, for example, the newspapers are absolutely full of Bush and Dukakis and the primaries and so on. Nobody ever said, why can't we elect our head of state and still keep the royal family as head of the Commonwealth? That's a different matter. Like India is a republic, but recognises the Queen as head of the Commonwealth. So you see, the more you discuss it, the more you realise there is a real point here. Most democracies in the world elect their head of state. We don't. And the Prime Minister then exercises medieval powers.
OK, listen, Peter from Exeter phoned in and he said, please could you ask Tony what constitutional reform he would make?
Well, really very simple. The powers of the Crown would be transferred to the elected Parliament. And a few other things as well. I don't think myself, for example, that in a society where there are Catholics and Protestants and Jews and Hindus and so on, that the Archbishop of Canterbury should be appointed by the Prime Minister. I think you'd have to separate church and state, and you'd have to see that these Crown powers, making war, signing treaties, were transferred to the Parliament. Then if you didn't like what the Parliament did, you vote them out. It's a fairly simple thing, and of course it is the normal practice in every democracy in Western Europe and the United States and Canada. So that's really what I'm after.
OK, let's have the other question from Jeff. The other question was?
Well, I was going to say that it's interesting how America, which is presumably one of the greatest democracies, seems to feel the need for royalty. I remember when President Bush was being sworn in, it was saying the day before he's just an ordinary individual, but the next day he's really treated like royalty. He's not just a president. And
well, that's a different point, you see. If you elect somebody and you then treat them with great respect, you're treating them with respect because they've been elected. Now, I don't believe in personality politics anyway, but I do think that people who've been elected are entitled to be treated with respect, not because of themselves, but because they embrace within themselves the support of the majority of the electors. That is a different point. But, I mean, Reagan operated like a monarch. The only thing was that his 8-year term came to an end, and in the case of Nixon, they actually removed him because he lied.
I'll just bring you up on one point. Thank you for that call, and we'll come back to some calls and more chat a little later. And when we talked before, I was always interested. I was listening to you on Desert Island Discs, which is why I decided to get Donna to bring in the tea while we're talking.
Yes.
Right? And you say from time to time, and I rather find this funny, that you're not into personality politics. And we've talked about this before, but you're one of the biggest political personalities in the country.
Well, I don't know what that means. What I'm saying is, and it's a simple point, that if you talk about issues, people are interested. But if at political meetings you just attack Edwina Currie or Mrs. Thatcher or praise somebody else, I think it bores people. So obviously, if you're a teacher, which I am, I suppose, people may like to listen to what you say, but I think it ought to be about the questions and rather... And after all, even tonight, I've been trying to avoid discussing the royal family because there's a much more important question, namely, how are we governed?
We'll get back at some other time, Tony, and talk about what
All right, okay, fine.
You're a personality. We will go to our competition note for the last week and watch very carefully. OK, look. You are supposed to fill it up, aren't you? I'm just going down to see my fans, get them to read out the answers of the competition, and you forgot to put diesel in the truck. Right, I'll tell you what we're going to do now. We're going to go in here and get these people to read out the questions, answers. Well, look, just a minute. Come here. And you. It's not on, really. OK, here we are in Yorkshire Television Canteen. We'll find some members of the public in here, somebody who can read out the limericks from last week. Pretty empty, isn't it? Follow me, look. Miss Sanderson, what are you doing here?
I'm doing a great show. Pick of the week, Sunday nights, 2:30.
Oh,
what are you doing here?
I'm doing a great show too. Listen, what I'd like you to do, because my van's broken down...
Oh, this has got to be a setup.
No, listen. Can I just touch this? Can I just touch this?
Touch my hand?
OK, yeah, look at this.
Oh.
This is the hand that won the gold medal.
Soft, isn't it?
It is, isn't it? Floppy too. Anyway, listen, never mind. Look, can you read this into the camera? OK, this is from Barry in Belfast.
Barry Rains from Belfast.
That's right.
A big-mouth presenter from Leeds with a liking for dressing in tweeds. Had a bimbo quite able, he'd under the table, no wonder his hairline recedes.
Oh, very nice, very nice. Come. This is the post lady, OK?
Right, OK.
And we just read that out from W.G. Kibble from Whitby.
A big-mouth presenter from Leeds with a liking for dressing in tweeds talks on the box of topics from pox to witches and hair that recedes.
You did it beautifully. Mr. Turner doesn't mind. I've got no land you can buy off me or anything like that at the moment.
Is it nice big print?
It's very, very big print.
And the only accent I can do is posh. Is that all right?
Yes, that's perfectly all right. Yes. Could you, Gabrielle, could you come here? Come here, hold the microphone. I'll give him a haircut while he's doing it. What?
He gets terrified.
Does he really?
Yeah.
Because I'll give him a James Wales special.
I've got one of those.
Anyway, I've always wanted to be in makeup. You read the thing, and I'll.
Do you want the lady who it comes from?
Yes. Oh, yes, please.
This is Mrs. Jane Russell from Newcastle on Tyne.
Yeah.
A big-mouthed presenter from Leeds with a liking for dressing in tweeds. It's the size of his gob that got him the job. Now a big cheque is all that he needs.
Oh, very nicely done. You got any money? OK.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to the town centre, please.
A big-mouth presenter from Leeds with a liking for dressing in tweeds chases women galore like a rampant old boar to satisfy his sexual needs. That's disgusting.
It is, isn't it? Margaret wrote that from Dewsbury. I don't think that's not a winner, is it? OK, I've decided that the winner is Jane Russell from Newcastle upon Tyne, and her limerick ended, "It's the size of his gob that got him the job. Now a big cheque is all that he needs." And all the runners-up will get a copy of my new record, which I don't have, so we've come down here to buy one. And Jane, you can choose between the cuttings of Richard Thorpe's hair or a little portable black and white TV that I'll show you later on in the show. Let's get the records. Okay, welcome back. Now we're in the reception area. Jane Russell is the winner from Newcastle. Now, Jane, do you want, and as I swept up there, these are, I'll tip these out for you, you'll enjoy this. Do you want some of Richard Thorpe's hair, who plays Mr. Turner? It's all stuck in there. But, oh, there it is. Look, you see? And the grey bits. You can have that, what's left of that. Or, and that, I should think that'll be worth a lot of money. Or do you want this very small TV? Okay, black and white, I'm afraid, is the best I could do. Get in touch and let us know. Donna, you look after Mr. Thorpe's hair, won't you? Thank you very much indeed. Now, the competition for this week, of course, is what has changed about me during the show. Okay, I wonder if you've spotted. If you have, write it down on the postcard. Shut up in the audience. And the prize this week will be Andy Leake's album here. He signed it. Have you signed it?
Yeah, Inside.
Inside. Yeah. Very well done. And what's this?
It's a
hospital visiting? Oh, an Andy Leake box of CDs.
Plastic Andy Leake box.
Very nice. Okay, so the winner who gets picked out of the hat next week on the competition will win that lot. Thank you very much indeed for that. Now, last part of the show, we have an audience, we have some people. We have Colin, who you saw his house earlier over here. And am I in part 3? Of course I am, you're absolutely right. And over here, he has got very nice green jumper on. I thought you'd come in red, white and blue, but never mind. Sitting next to him, I have got Jack Brown, who's a Republican. Is that right, Jack?
Well, thereabouts, yes. Yes,
so you will have had some fairly strong feelings about the royal family.
Well, I've suffered at the hands of royalists. I've had my house painted red, white and blue.
Yeah? They probably improved it.
I've had the front window in 2 or 3 times. I'm sure that people like Colin don't support the kind of royalists who do that.
I'm sure he
doesn't. And let me say that the ones who painted it, all 3 of the young lads have done time since for other offences.
Never mind about that.
And the mates of mine.
Basically, that's got nothing to do with the royal family. Are you totally opposed to the people within the royal family, or are you opposed to the thing that they represent?
I think what we have to do, we have to accept what Tony Benn said about their place in the Constitution and the dangers of that. But I think in order to compare what the people who support the royal family really support, which is the myth of the king, you have to go back to what that originally meant. So you look at the Anglo-Saxons and the Vikings.
But do you think the majority of us take it that seriously? I don't think the majority of us take it that seriously.
The point is, if you think that what Tony Benn didn't say, you see, and Tony Benn's a Privy Councillor, is that when he went to be made a Privy Councillor, he had to swear an oath. And he had to kneel behind a stool and then shuffle to another stool and kiss the Queen's hand and come back again.
But he probably wouldn't do it now if he was asked.
In a democracy where that man has been elected,
he's changed his mind.
He can't sit in a cabinet until he does that. Now, that is power. You know, that is selecting our cabinet ministers. Now, I don't mind somebody
in certain cases, that might be a very good idea. We'll come back and talk in a few moments. We'll take a break. Don't go away. Voila, me. A great feeling of power has come over me at this moment. Director's freaking out up there, and I just forgotten what he said. Listen, before we do anything else, let's take a few more calls. Donna, I don't know what you're doing over there, but where's my list of calls, and why have they been? They were on there, weren't they? Have they dropped over the back there? Here, let's have. That's it. Okay, right, I've got them. Okay, this way. Marie, hello.
Hello?
Yes, Marie, your point.
Yeah, I'd like to make the point about the younger royals in particular, especially Fergie. I don't think she gives a damn about public opinion. They take advantage of their position, and I think they bring the reputation of the royal family into disrepute.
I feel quite sorry for her, really. I don't suppose she realised she was going to have the hassle, but you're getting into a personality, really. Are you, just as a matter of, you're not interested in that side of the royal family, are you?
No, I feel rather sorry for them, actually. The Duke of Edinburgh, have personal experience of, he came on board a ship that I served on, and he's what we call in Yorkshire brusson. You know,
so, I mean, as people,
they're just human beings.
They're
just human beings.
Okay.
You know, but they're not fit. They're not kingly human beings. She's certainly not the head of the church.
Okay, right, thank you, Marie.
Morality.
Stop. I'll tell you when to talk. OK. Now, we have an exclusive on the programme, which is rather nice, because you see all these TV shows saying, first played on this show, first played on that show. So here we are on the James Whale TV show, an exclusive, the first time on television, the Bangles video. Fantastic. They're the Bangles, and the new video, I think that's great. First showing on TV on the James Whale Show. Could we remove all these? Thank you very much indeed. Now, a little something here. We have a young gentleman who works on the TV show and sometimes works on my radio show as well. His name is Tony, and he looks the spitting image of the Milky Bar Kid. And it's his 18th birthday today, so there we are, Tony. All right. There we are. Hang on, just a minute. Hold on. Hold on, hold on. Happy birthday, Tony. We take the mick out of him because of his looks, just like the Milky Bar Kid. We thought we'd do this for you. Blow them out quickly and make a wish. That's it. Fantastic. That's great. Take that away. Give him a nice round of applause. Off you go. Hang on. Blow the candles out. That's better. OK, off you go. Fine. Hang on. That's better. OK, fine. OK, good. Right. The update on the vote line. The final on the vote line tonight is... And can you get rid of these bottles, Donna? Because if Di is watching, she'll freak. She'll absolutely freak. Get rid of those. Right. OK, the vote line. Anti-royal family, 1,102. Pro-royal family, 986. The vote line is still open. You can continue to vote if you want. Next week, we're talking about unidentified flying objects. Until then, have a nice weekend. Good night. Bye-bye. Thank you very much indeed.